Welcome to another episode of Million Dollar Stories, where we get to interview authors from all over the world. I love talking to authors because they have the courage to take their thoughts, their stories, their lessons, put it down in a book, and share it with the many, ultimately changing their legacy and destiny in the process. And if you are an entrepreneur out there, I highly recommend you write a book. It will give you clarity, self-awareness, and many opportunities. If you need any help with that, check out dreamstarterspublishing.com. Now, I get to interview a lot of authors, but they're not all my clients. I don't get to know them, in and out. But this one, I do. All right. I know this guy very well. We met in South Carolina, I think it was. Yeah, I think South Carolina, hanging out at the pool. Got to work with him on his book, and now he's a part of the lead marketing CRM. So it's been fun to work with this guy. A patriot through and through, fun to talk to, and it's going to be a pleasure to have him on our show. It is Mr. Zip It himself, Charley O'Rourke, who put out a book called A Tale of Two Realtors. And we're going to dive right into that. If you've ever read of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, it kind of follows the same guidelines. And that's why it's going to be pretty damn popular for many generations to come, hopefully. So, Charley O'Rourke, it is an honor to have you on the Million Dollar Stories podcast.
Pleasure to be here. I didn't know if this day was ever going to come. I knew once we finished the books that we'd get to do this, but I just kept creating more books and shit.
Yeah, this man does not stop. He comes up with something, puts it into action, comes up with something else before the other one's out there. Yeah, so the man doesn't stop. But tell us a little bit about who you are, where you come from, and what you do.
Yeah, well, that's what I tell it to realtors is. It's pretty much my story of 47 years on this planet, 24 years in real estate, and the four-year journey of creating MrZipCode.com and implementing it and redesigning it and figuring out what its real goal was. And actually, I thought I was pretty clear before I started writing the book, but then writing the book even gave me more clarity on what I wanted to do, things I wanted to add to the program, and it's really been an awesome journey, amazing journey, to be honest with you. I'm a completely different person than I was this time last year, on so many. I mean, you look back, you're like, man, that guy was pretty. He didn't know what he was doing. He didn't know shit about shit. And I still don't know everything about anything, but I'm getting there, and I'm learning a lot. So. And I
Well, you
perfect.
have a podcast now. That's brand new, right? The Zip It podcast and the Mr. Zip Code name. You have many titles, but where did the Mr. Zip Code come from? How did that come to be?
So early on when I started real estate 2001, I was I just figured, wow, this was a great way to go about branding myself locally. Back then, people used to pick like neighborhoods and they called it the farm system. They would, send out letters, door knock, all that stuff before technology. And I was like, that's cool, but how do I like create a mega farm and own the whole town? So the whole story's in the book, but pretty short story, long story short, I was working with buyers from Staten Island that pissed me off and backstabbed me at an open house. And I was like, man, this might not be for me. I was out on, no GPS, back roads in Millstone, all over the county. And I was like, man, maybe this isn't for me. And then one day at the office, one of the older agents was, after our office meeting, was talking to one of the other women agents, and she had about 5 listings printed out. And he was like, older Italian agent, and he was just like, hey, what are you doing today? And the woman was like, oh, I'm showing Keensburg. And Keensburg is not exactly the best town in Monmouth County. So I was like, oh, you should be Mrs. Keensburg. And I was like, huh. And I just shut up and listened. I went to PetSmart at work that night, which I was working double, two different places and stuff. And I was like, what if I was Mr. Middletown? So that night I raced home and bought MrMiddletown.com. 2 weeks later, had it in the back of my car, domain names, everything, and that was it. But as story goes, I did like 5, 6 years of growing the brand. Then 2008, 2009 rolled around, got scarcity mindset, and so I needed to make bigger opportunities because there was smaller, less opportunities. So went to the Charlie O show, all this stupid shit which I didn't like. I hated it. It was so hard to explain who Charlie O was and that he sold real estate. When Mr. Middletown was that real estate guy, the best realtor in town. And just doing real estate both ways and realizing how stupid it is not you know, to embrace a big brand and just a simple brand, really something that just clicks the second you see it and hear it. Branding, the epitome of branding, and not have to over explain it, what it is and what you do. So that's the story of Mr. Middletown to Charlie O to back to Mr. Middletown, and then how I realized when I went back to doing what I wanted to do, more authentic, being Mr. Middletown, um, you know, how I liked it, how I loved it, and then I created, I'm crazy, so I created all this content shit I couldn't possibly use, and I was like, well, what if there was like one of me in every zip code, and they could use all the content I'm creating, and all this stuff I come up with. I could be in business 2,000 years. I'd never use all the ideas I come up with. But one of the biggest problem that realtors has is one, they don't know how to brand themselves. They're too fond of their name, so they stick with that. Which you
Yep.
can, and really, you're allowed to have a basically like a stage name, you know what I mean, or a marketing name. So why wouldn't you? And and they just don't know what to do. Everyone's telling them do this, join that, join. It's like drinking from a fire hose of opportunities of what you can do. But if they were just smart and niched down and did like two or three things and did them well, they do so much better. I just see it. I see them in the office. I see everybody online. What do I do? How do I do this? And they're not even building a brand. They're just asking. They're like, I'm in real estate. Good. You and 1.5 million other people,
Yep.
like, what do you do? What do you do well? What kind of real estate do you sell? Where do you sell? What do you know better than anybody else? And nobody's out there. They're all being very vocal. Hey, use me, call me. I'm never too busy for your referrals. Like, yeah, because you got shit going on. You know what I mean? So that's why the new website we're building, it says check availability. Yeah, you check my availability. I'm busy, So and I don't want to just take any opportunity, or possibility. I want to work on the probability. So
Nice.
that's
But
cool.
branding, let's touch on that for a little bit. And, I realized it pretty early that individuals who are out there as an entrepreneur, you can't discount marketing, you can't get discount branding because that's what's going to set you apart, right? Nobody really knows the product or the service or all that on the back end. It's really how do you capture somebody's attention, keep them interested, and clarify who you are, what you do in the fewest words possible, right? You want to be top of mind. Branding, though, to you is your secret sauce. So what book or where did you start to realize the significance of it? Were you just playing the roles just like everyone else, and then you realize the people who get all the attention maybe aren't even maybe the greatest realtors. It was the greatest branders, and then you can showcase your skills and strengths. But branding and marketing, the greatest business is not the one that has the greatest products and services. Usually, it's the greatest marketer that offers great products and services. So marketing wins. When did you realize it, and when did you start to really put your chips in on branding?
Well, I mean, there's a lot in the book about it. I mean, I call it Rob, return on branding. Everyone talks about return on investment, return on branding, but every time you hashtag, every time you post something, every time you say your name, like there's a return on that branding, which builds your brand equity. So every time you say you're Mike Smith or Steve or Susie, I don't know, Susie, whatever, no one knows that. They don't remember it. There's nothing you can't, and then you can't sell it. With our branding system, you could literally, because you're Mr. Middletown or you're you're Mr. Keensburg or you're Mrs. Homedale, like you could literally sell that to somebody in 6 months. They're that, you know what I mean? Because it's not your name. But you can't sell your name. Nobody cares if you're Mike Smith real estate. Nobody cares if you're Jenny James real estate team. Like who can buy that? No, you can't sell that. It's an unsellable asset. But once we license it to you, it's yours as long as you stick to the guidelines and you don't do anything too stupid and we don't have to code confiscate your ass. But you know what I mean? But for the most part, you get to run your zip code, your county, as under your brand, and it's your brand that you could eventually sell if you build it big enough. So, you know,
Yeah, it's a
which
sellable asset. I'm glad you bring that up. When you create a brand, it becomes a sellable asset, right? It could be a commodity, but a brand is very much like you have you ever seen American Gangster?
yeah,
Yeah, you remember whenever Denzel Washington's character was talking to the individual and it said, "You see that? That's a name brand, like Coca-Cola. It's a name brand. That is what people are looking for. That's what people are thinking of whenever they think of that commodity or that product." And in your book, guys, check out his book. It's an Amazon bestseller. Under All is the brand. It is the foundation upon which every transaction, relationship, and opportunity is built. A strong, authentic brand is the key to unlocking trust, recognition, and success in real estate and beyond. Well said, man. So that's what you're saying. You're creating a sellable asset.
which I mean, yeah, sure. If you're the broker, you own the Remax franchise, you could sell that potentially, right? But as a realtor under in that team, on that in that group, on that office, you can't sell anything. You're not building anything. You're building them. I say, that's why in the book I also say, like your broker, love your brand. Like, cool, you're gonna have to promote your broker. That's part of it, but you can like him, but love your brand and do you first, man. Put his little logo on there, whatever size it has to be, but make sure you're branding yourself because it's not bragging, it's branding. And
Hmm.
some people
Blanding, right? Say that slowly, right? It's not branding. If you're not branding, you're blanding. Is that what you just said?
not bragging. You know, everyone thinks it's bragging when you talk about yourself, but if you're talking about your business, how good at what you do, and how well you do it, and where you do it, that's branding. That's not bragging. But you know, talk about
Okay.
yourself, that's bragging. But but yeah, you should talk about your business. You should be confident about your business, and you should be bragging about your brand. You know, which is branding.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, you're not bragging. You're branding. And in I think it's chapter 3, somewhere in there, page 36 of your book, you talk about brand versus bland. Okay. So k- break down the difference. The Terrell two realtors, one is bland, one's focusing on brand. What's the difference? How are they living their life? How are they building their business?
This, hey, yeah, I'm Charlie O'Rourke. I'm Charlie O. Go to charlieo.com. I'm a realtor. I sell real estate in New Jersey. I'm licensed. If you're, I'm never too busy for your business. Please, I'll take your referrals. Or really, Charlie O. Charlie. Okay, cool. How about this? Hey, I'm Mr. Middletown. I'm a hyper local real estate expert in Middletown, New Jersey. Boom. And here's the best part: people who are in the business will talk shit on it, but then the public loves it. So then I'll show up someplace, and people are already like, "Oh, that's Mr. Middletown. That's Mr. Middletown." So I
No way. It's a celebrity. You're celebritizing yourself.
celebrity capital. I call it celebrity capital. It's all about growing your brand, which is your celebrity capital. Well, you're supposed to take your network and grow it to your known work so that people know who you are before you walk in the room and you linger about 30 minutes after you leave the room because they're still talking about you, you know?
Mm, awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I don't know what's happening in the brain, but I think the average person's attention span is dropping tremendously as time goes on, right? There's more noise, there's more confusion. Therefore, if you are Mr. Middletown, they may not remember Charlie O'Rourke. But
Well, I
Mr.
don't
Middletown, with the look and the image, it's, oh, here's what he does. He takes his book of business seriously. He's committed. And you know what? If he's memorable, he's been doing it for a long time, and he's courageous enough to put himself out there like that, heck, I know he's going to be here tomorrow. I want to work with this guy.
Yeah. Well, in the second, in tell it to realtors part two, the first chapter is called dedication versus designation, which is how every realtor runs out there and they get the I'm a certified this and I'm a certified that. No one knows what that shit means. And no one knows what it means, and you don't own it. So what's the point of it? All these little acronyms after your name. But if you were, this hyper focus is all about being the waterfront expert, the as is expert. That's Mr. As is, Mr. Water Views, all that stuff. So you're dedicating yourself to a brand and to a market rather than being designated all these stupid little, acronyms on your business card that no one knows what they mean. They don't mean shit, They mean shit to the Realtors Association, because they're able to charge you for them and sell you the class and get the little designation. But it's just confusing on your business card. What is a certified this and certified that? No one knows. And then you got 20 of them. So really, what are you? You're a certified buyer's agent. You're a certified negotiation expert. Well, which one are you good at? And so dedicate yourself and forget the designations.
I think one of the greatest parts about not only your book, but every bit of content you put out there is the unique take on how you look at the two different realtors, right? You talk about the guru versus the guru, brand versus bland, Mr. Hyper Local versus Mr. Hyper Vocal, right? The ROY versus the ROI. I mean, you can keep going on. The lighthouse DNA versus the tugboat DNA. Can you just break? Oh, what about the crocodile versus the chameleon? Tell me about that right there.
Mike, if you haven't read that chapter was specifically put in this book for this last year we've had. So, I mean, it's generic, but you can think you can read, you'll be able to read between the lines, especially since just read some of the sub chapter titles, headings in there, you'll get
So
it.
good, yeah.
So yeah, ROI is about, running your business and spending money on things that matter to you, man, and not just the numbers. Because like I always say, if you should do the path, not the math on some things. Like spending time at a mastermind that's like 5 grand might be not the best ROI for now for next week. But if it keeps you on your path and gets you where you're going and get you closer to your dreams and stuff like that, and where you want to do bigger level stuff, then you shouldn't do that math. You should spend that money and you should go. That's the ROI, even all the way down to like why you do your business. Like you love your dogs. I love my dogs. Like I literally say, when I'm like stressed out about something or should I do this? I'm like, well, what if homie was hungry? That's my ROI. Like, what if my dog was hungry? And
That's
I
your
go,
dog. Your dog's name's Homie, right?
little bro, like if they were hungry, what would I do? I do whatever the fuck it takes to get them fed. So then you're going to ask for that business. You're gonna you're gonna log onto that Zoom you might maybe want to go on and talk on or whatever, you know. So you have to have the right ROI in your head, which is your goal and your your core reasons for doing stuff. So you know,
Yes, and I'm with you. It's like right now, Barney's looking at me. He wants to go for walk number three. Right? Yeah, he's sitting at me. I'm giving him the click. Hey, lay down because it's time for me to for Daddy to be at work right now. But
the reason I
um,
hopped because I had to put them outside so they didn't just start scratching at the door mid Zoom, you know. So
but yeah. All right. So what you're saying is that anybody out there listening right now, if you know your whys, right? The ROI basically that
capital
gives you the conviction and that gives you more fuel than the next person who's only looking for the short-term transaction guide of hey, what can I get out of this meeting that I'm having?
right. Well, I like there's investments, right? Like, real estate, finance, stocks, all that stuff. But when you start looking at your investments, I call it like that's like spending money on your brand, spending money on your on masterminds, things that matter to you. That's an investment in yourself. And those matter, in yourself and in your brand. So it's just long term marathon vision on return rather than, short term. Does this make sense? Is this billboard going to bring in money? As opposed to if I keep going with this brand and spending this money on this brand, how long will that, that's my real goal. I want to have a big brand. I want to create a legacy for myself and eventually sell it, So the why could be tiny or the why could be huge, but it's all about remembering, your capital wise too,
Yeah, you bring up a good point there, and maybe I'm just looking at it from the perspective of all entrepreneurs. Some entrepreneurs will say, you know what, I need to invest in myself. I need to put out a podcast. I need to spend money on that, write a book. I need to go to this mastermind, go to this event. And other people look at that and say, why would you do that? That doesn't help you close deals. What closes deals is showing houses and doing more open houses. I don't know. When you invest in yourself, you increase your value in the marketplace, right? Maybe you become more articulate. You become more clear-minded. Maybe your professionalism skyrockets. Maybe you learn a trick or something. It's basically you're always investing in yourself. And is that the difference between a realtor who actually treats it like a business and one that basically just treats it like a job? I think that's probably the best way to put it, right?
Here's what I break down. You can either, run and run and run and run your real estate business in the ground, or you can grow a practice, a hyper local practice, hyper focused practice. Because I mean, just think of the two words of business versus a practice. I mean, which one's more powerful? Which one makes more sense for you to do and spend your time? Like, yeah, if you're in it for 2 years, cool, go run around, sell some real estate and get out of it, whatever. But if this is really what you want to do for your life and for your future, you should reverse engineer your real estate career with a hyper local, hyper focused real estate, real estate career. So
It's like a song.
yeah, yeah,
It's a
and it's the subtitle for both the books. So,
Guys,
yeah.
this is a quote from his book. A crocodile never hides its power, nor apologizes for its presence. It thrives in stillness, confident in its strength, while the chameleon scrambles to blend in, changing to survive. Be the force that stands firm, not the one that fades away. So be the damn crocodile, because that is what people are looking for what assistance, guidance. They want relationships with people who are standing firm. Am I right? Not the chameleon who changes from room to room.
Oh, it's like that. And there's another sub chapter in that called "Fight, Fight, Fight" versus hiding in plain sight, which I think we know what that kind of
Yep,
references. And
you are right.
word solid versus word salad. It's substance, man. Bring substance to the game and authenticity.
Fight,
So
fight, fight. We definitely know where that came from.
little inspiration everywhere, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. What is Mr. Sigma versus Mr. Stigma?
So I always, everyone pounds their chest like I'm an alpha, I'm this, I'm that, and I'm not an alpha, right? I don't go around running around telling everybody this and that. I'm very confident in who I am. I know what I can do, and I don't always need to tell everybody who I am or what I'm doing. But the alpha does, right? And they kind of get a little bit of a stigma about them being the loudest guy, annoying, whatever. Sometimes, whatever. You need a healthy ego, you need a healthy alpha, but when people are just all alpha, so the Sigma is a different personality, and very much being a Scorpio slash Sagittarian. I've kind of like realized over my life I've been more of a Sigma, like, and that's it's just a strong personality. I don't feel the need to prove to anybody. I know what I do. I know I'm confident in what I do. I know what I'm doing. And there's about, 30 things that we're not even talking about now that I'm already planning. But I already know that and I've already created in my head like it's happening. So like I'm confident in what I'm doing. I'm confident where it's going. And I might have to zig and zag and pivot obviously along the way, but I just think there's a difference between the stigma of an alpha and the true essence of a sigma. So yeah.
Well, what got you into real estate? I don't know if I ever really. I mean, it's probably featured in your book, but I don't know if I ever really got into the what got you into it. Said you were working at PetSmart at the same time while you were growing this, but obviously you're an animal lover. What made you fall in love with real estate? Was there a book? Was there a mentor? Was it parents?
Actually, my grandmother was in real estate years ago, but I didn't really, that wasn't a big thing. I found that kind of later after the fact. Um, but I was law enforcement. I was actually a Monmouth County Sheriff's Officer. And while I was um, hired for that, I was out of trade once when I was one of the best clubs in Monmouth County at the point back then. And my buddy, Big Jeremy, who I met at the gym years earlier, gave me the nickname Serious about everything about working out. And he handed me his business card one day because I just got a job. He figured, hey, it's probably going to need to buy a house. And I was like, oh, well. And I was like, ah, Jeremy, Big Jeremy's a realtor. I was like, cool. Stuck that in the back of my head. Mom kind of didn't work out. It just wasn't for me. Didn't like the job. Didn't like what we were had to do. Plus, I had 3 credits to finish at Kane. Like with the academy, it just sucked. It just wasn't my destiny. So when I got done with that, I was like, what do I do? So I crawled back to PetSmart, and they made me become a manager, which I didn't want to be. I'm just getting paid decently to come and go, whatever I want to do. But they're like, yeah, you can come back. Now you have no job. First time ever in my life for 2 days, had no job. And you can come back as a manager though. So now you can work 50 hours a week and, for X amount of pay. So after I graduated Kane, I went to a one of those job fairs. And there was a Waker Realtor table there. And I was like, huh. And I was like, well, Jeremy, big Jeremy, meathead, my buddy can sell real estate. Like it was all women at the time. Like I was like literally like the Eminem of real estate. Like there was just older women, older guys. There was no young realtors in 2001. Maybe a few, but they came and went real fast. So I was like, well, big Jeremy can do this, meathead guy. So can I. So I applied for that. Took the test, interviewed a Middletown Waker. The broker was awesome. He lived pretty much was like, I went there in a suit, I had a resume. Richard Hendrick said he was like, so do you know people? I was like, yeah. He goes, cool. You want to be a realtor here? I was like, yeah. But right there, that tells you like network is everything. Like who, a lot of people. Yeah, been in this town forever. Know a lot of people. Blah blah blah. So that was the beginning of it. And then I just took off from there.
Do you think it's based off of your personality? Like, yeah, I think you're such a easy to get along person that that's what really kind of maybe you found it or it found you, and the people noticed that, and that's why your opportunity was presented to you because, um, I don't know, you're just easy to talk to, and I think that's half the game in real estate.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would say my first like either 10 or 10 customers were either friends from high school or people I met at PetSmart helping them get dog food and whatever they needed at the time. They would come in looking for me. So I already had Charlie O'Rourke brand at PetSmart, right? I had my brand at PetSmart. They came in to see Charlie, the stock guy. They like talking to Charlie O'Rourke, the stock guy. Yeah, oh, is Charlie in today? But no, but people would come and ask if I was working. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't
And you weren't even you weren't even the cashier. You're the stock guy.
stock guy running around a little forklift and stuff. But like, I was there for years and I grew a brand there. I didn't know I was growing a brand, but I grew a brand there, which I was able to then leverage into everybody I talked to would be like, hey, by the way, I just got my real estate license. If you ever need as I'm carrying out their dog food, to their car and whatever else, I'm just hitting my business card, telling them I'm in real estate now. And I'd sold a few houses out of there and just on and on, man. So
Wow. So
part of the book is like run it like even if you don't have a business, run it like it's your business. Like when I bartended, I treated that place like it was my business, like, and I was the brand there. They thought I owned the place. People like, oh, do you own this? No, I don't own it. Just run it like it's mine because it's cheap to run it like it's yours. People will think it's yours. Great.
man,
Ownership investment.
what a golden piece of advice where if you just treat it as if it's your business, you talk to people differently, you manage individuals better, right? You make sure your place is a little cleaner, a little neater. You take pride in the email or the text message, your presentation, your car, right? Everything. Treat it as if it's your business and watch what happens. And it does fall in line with the great quote that Do more than what you're paid for, and soon you'll be paid for more than what you do. And it's exactly it. I think if you treat it like your business, that's why I look for entrepreneurs within my organization, right? Even though it's not them on the name of the LLC, if they treat it as if it's their business, I can trust them with opportunities and all kinds of different clients that come their way. So, great piece of advice.
Walk into like a retail store or whatever, and it's in the second book. It's called No Solutions versus Noise Pollution. Like, when I worked at PetSmart, people would come in, I'd be like, oh, let me get that down for you. It might take a little longer. I'll get you that bag of dog food that you can see is up there that somebody else would lie to you and say it's not in the pallet. But you go in other places, and they're just talking about how much they hate the place. Like, you could walk up and ask, like, hey, can I? They hate the place. They can't wait to get out of here. And they're like, meanwhile, they're there. They're missing opportunities. And I'm the type of person that does look for a good now, I mean, look for a good person that could possibly be rescued from there and give them another opportunity. But they're so busy bullshitting each other and just creating pollution, noise pollution, which is horrible energy. And you're like,
Yeah.
I get, I realize you hate the place and you don't want to really be here, but I'm here and I'd like to get some help, so.
So the energy, beware of the energy that you're giving off because how many people will walk into a room, right? And they don't realize that no matter what they say or what they do, people are judging them, right? So if you're giving off a negative energy, you're going to attract negative energy. But if you're giving off positive energy, right? Where if you walk in and even if you're at a PetSmart and you kind of hate going there, I if people see that optimism, excitement, work ethic, resourcefulness, it's amazing that people will say, you know what? I got a job. Are you interested in this? Right? That is something that you can control. It's not what you can't control everything, but you can control how you feel in the presentation that you give every single day. And if people focus on that in every aspect of their life, watch what happens, is what you're saying.
Well, one of the chapters in the first book is called Controllables versus Can't Trollables.
Oh, here it is. It is. That's right. Page 154. I'm going to it right now. Let's go to it. Tell me a little bit more about that. When people come to you for questions and for advice, what are the cantrollables and can't trollables?
Well, it's like, sometimes I've realized like I was going through a period while I was writing this book, like I was just having attorneys killing my deals, you know what I mean? Like they would even I couldn't get them to act. I would, but it was my fault. I wasn't setting them up right. There was things I wasn't doing that I could have controlled. I could have made sure I told the buyer to use a better attorney or been emphatic about it. I could have made sure that I spoke to the attorney before on Friday morning rather than letting it get to be 4 o'clock on Friday afternoon when they all leave early for the day when we need to get this out of review because it means them buying and then me listing and their other place. So I just was like, man, this sucks. Like, but there's things that I'm not doing that I can control. And of course, there's so much shit that you can't control. So, I created the two triangles. It's like effort, energy, and focus, and then opportunity, information, opportunity, and problem. So, like, if you just take those two triangles and you work it, you can kind of come up with like whether you can control it or not. And if you can't, leave the rest to God after you've done everything you can do. Because it's maybe it's not supposed to happen. But yeah, there's some cool stories about times I kind of like just spun shit in my life and um, where it could have ruined you, right? Like that I called Professor Dickwad and at Kane. There's a story in there. He was a history teacher, he was like an old Marine, and I was working, commuting, I couldn't get there a ton, right? So I was always late, and I'm always late anyway. It's a bad trait, but I'm working on it. So I would get there and he'd be like, oh, late again, make me stand outside. And then I'd come in, two girls would walk in after me and he'd like say nothing to him, right? So I was like, all right, man. So he was a dick, man. Like I wanted to drop the class or kick his ass, one or the other. And so finally I was like, all right, cool, cool. So after a few weeks of this, I was like, he's like, oh, it was a history class. We're gonna go down to the Vietnam Memorial in Homedale, New Jersey. And I was like, game on, motherfucker. That's the next town from my house and where PetSmart, where I worked with. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to make sure I'm a half hour early for that shit. I'm going to be the first one there. So I was the first one there. All the students came in to met at the memorial. I guess who was the last guy to show up? Professor Dickwad. So when he walked in, I said, excuse me, Mr. So I said, can I just grab a minute of your time? He said, yeah, what's up? I said, I don't know if you know this, but we've all been waiting here for you, and it's been really rude to have to wait for you to come here. And I spat the same shit he said to me every time. And he goes like this, he goes, he goes, you got me, man. Like he was awesome. But that could have like somebody else would let that moment, that professor ruin him. And But fuck him. I knew I could get him. Like I'm gonna get him. I'm gonna figure because I can control Homedale. I can control like the traffic. I know those roads and shit. I can't control what happened in Union every day when I try to get there Tuesday at 5:30 when it's like commuting after being at work all day. But I can control 5 weeks from now in Homedale, New Jersey. And I
It's
did, and
awesome.
it's awesome. So it's just little anecdotes like that that it's just so important when you can take the power back in your life and I could control that situation. I couldn't control Kane. I couldn't control the parking situation. I couldn't control whether some asshole got into an accident on the way when I there, but I could control getting a Homedale, New Jersey, the Vietnam Memorial way early, man.
Wow. Good way
So
of
it's not
looking at it. Yeah, there are certain things that you can absolutely take control of. And like you said, and taking that accountability and that ownership that I'm going to be here at this time. I'm going to do that. I'm going to feel this way. Understand what you can control because there's a lot more than you possibly think out there. There is one sub chapter that I need to get to because it falls in line with this podcast. Your story equals your glory. Man, I've always thought, mate, why don't I write a book? No story, no glory. So this made me kind of remind me maybe I got to put a book out there. But tell me about your story equals your glory. What do you mean by that?
just that scenario, right? Like I could have like been like, man, this guy's a jerk. I can't get here. It's not my fault. I can't get here. And I could have lived that for 14 weeks, and it'd be like, poor me, poor me. This guy's picking on me. I was like, no, it's cool. I get it. I'm late. I'm being a jerk. I should get here earlier. I can't. I got work, and I do what I do. But I'm gonna make the end of this story something glorious, and I did. Great. So.
It's
And
awesome.
half of these stories I didn't tell anybody. It's just so funny. Like writing this book, I was like, well, fuck it, I'll share this.
Yeah.
Fuck it, I'll share that. Because like, how can you tell anybody all this shit that happens throughout your life until you write the book on 47 years of your life, 24 years in real estate, and 4 years trying to grow this massive undertaking, Mr. Zip Code. So, but it's cool. It really gave me a good opportunity to share and be whatever, be I don't know what do they say on the fucking Bachelor, expose myself or whatever, be I don't know, vulnerable. You know what I mean? Like, so it was really kind of cool. There's stuff
Well,
in told anybody. It was kind of cool to be able to get it out there.
it is amazing when you first start to write to see how the dots connect and to find these meaningless stories in your mind and then finding the value in it that there actually is meaning in it, right? So it's not meaningless. It's like, oh, that there actually is significance to that one story that will highlight my point. Maybe it's solidified a lesson, and that is something that I need to show the world. So the introspection that takes place whenever you write a book is just game changing. It gives you clarity of where you come from, where you're at now, and where you're going. So it sounds like that happened quite a bit with your book writing process.
So long that I had to turn into 2 books and then maybe 3 down the road. So
Yeah, it never ends. By the way, you start writing, you're like, how much do I want to say? I always say your first book is like a first date, right?
yeah.
You want to give enough that gives it value, keep them coming back because if they're interested, they're going to want to read more and learn more. Um, and then whenever they get your book, they're obviously going to want the next step, which either a consultation or to listen to you on your podcast. And I have to get to it. Your podcast, Mr. Zip It, or is it the Zip It podcast that's coming out here very soon? Tell us about that.
Zip it talk show. Obviously, I like to talk a lot. So, but the biggest part about a good talk show is good questions, right? So, I'm going to try to hold back and not jump in, but I want to ask great people, great questions, and get great answers, and have a great time. And you know, obviously, the first question is kind of like, where did you come from? What towns? Where'd you grow up? What towns? What zip codes influence your life? To hear their story because it really is zip code to zip code is that's your ping, and you're pinging from here. You grew up here. You went here to high school. You went there to college. I mean, it's all zip code related. So I figured I name it Zip It. I created the logo next to you on ChatGPT when we were in South Carolina. I remember I was like, hey, look at this. What do you think? But the
I
new one
loved
is
it. Yeah.
better, but that was the first one I created. But I just think it's a great name. I just like fucking, dude, I'm branding freak. So like, I was like, what's a great name for a talk show? Zip it. What's the opposite of talking? Zip it, right? So instead of tie it into my branding, I just said it's a no-brainer. I've had a few. I had back hustle, things that I try to work out, but I just, that's it's not a failure because you just get to the next better one as you keep going. So
And by the time this comes out, your website will be live for A Tale of Two Realtors. When they go there and they're going to pick up your book or schedule a call with you, ultimately, let's just say they're interested in the Mr. Zip Code branding system. What does that look like? And let's say they schedule a call with you. What does the process look like?
yeah, well, I'd like people to read the book, spend the time doing that because if you don't want to read the book, get to know me and my story, then you're probably not doesn't have what it takes to grow a big brand. And it takes, it takes big balls to grow this kind of brand too. So I don't want people hopping in and calling them, using Mrs. Franklin Lakes or Mr. Ocean County. And then they're like, well, I don't really have the time to do that, or I don't have the balls to do that. Well, then I don't, you're not built for our system. And that's fine because not many people are. But what we need is one person in every zip code, one person in every county to run their team, and, one person in every state level to run their group. So, I mean, it's not a big, I don't have a huge pool of people that I need to fill this and actually run an amazing um, platform partnership, group. Um, it's big, obviously because the amount of zip codes, the amount of counties and stuff, but there's not a lot of people in each town that that I don't need them to get it. I only need one person that wants to get it, does get it, and wants to implement it. So I want you to get it and implement it. So, and if you were ready to do that, let's talk, let's grow this out, because I'm building pretty much, what I wish I had day one when I bought MrMiddletown.com. Like everyone is going to have 24 years of my mess ups, all the content I've created, all the insight on day one when they become Mr. and Mrs. whatever they want to become. So that's pretty fucking awesome. I wish I had somebody do that for me.
Damn right.
Um, and if you get it and you like it, then that's great. Then it's a no-brainer. It's very affordable. I've built in four for free, I call it, so you control four ads on your member page. So like if you partner or barter with your HVAC guy or your contractors or whatever, your membership could be potentially free. So I think that's pretty cool. Imagine having a brand for free if you just know how to leverage it properly. Between all the opportunities on the member profile, you could literally, you know, almost have it for free if you do it right.
Yeah, so you guys could pick up the book and read it, or the audiobook is going to be coming out here pretty soon. I would say, man, next 30 to 60 days, somewhere in there. So you could listen to it and then get to know, like, and trust him a little bit more, but also know, like, and trust the message and the branding that he has in place that you guys can be a part of. So that will be available for you guys. But what is the number one thing that people struggle with when people come to you or you see out there? The number one thing that realtors who struggle with, what do they struggle with?
A game plan. That's why I say, Mr. Zip Code, you have a massive brand and a game plan because we're giving you the brand that I've created, one of them, one of 42,000. And then the game plan, which is connecting with a massive CRM high level that, we're going to build, so that everyone day one has that. And I want to be able to create it so that day one they can actually have something actionable they can do with it so that they don't say, oh, wow, this is great, then never do nothing with it. When meanwhile, this is the most powerful system I've ever seen. And if I had it, I still don't have a great CRM. I mean, I'm writing this book and I'm like, how do I not have this? Because, I've grown a lot of businesses and I've done a lot of stuff and I've never been I know you need to be hyper local and hyper focused because I wasn't for a long time. You know what I mean? And I know all the things I didn't do and how big my business would be if I did all those. So I'm giving you all that because hey, I didn't sell the most houses last year in Middletown and maybe not the year before. But you know what? I was the most visible agent out there doing what I do. And and by the way, I was building this, building that. So, but if it was all I did was real estate and I had my systems on a building for you, like you're gonna be good, man. Especially if you have the balls to just put it out there. And that's if you can execute you're gonna be great. So
So what you're doing is you're providing direction, clarity, and a game plan, right? A strategy. So
sure.
I guess what you're saying is that some people just kind of run around with no strategy, no game plan, and therefore there's no cohesiveness, there's no message. But if they are given it, all they have to do is be themselves. Their personality will speak for themselves, and everything else when it comes to the branding, the zip code, the colors, the website, all of that you can help out with, and therefore it takes away some of the things that a lot of people don't even like thinking of, right?
Takes away all the things that they think of that they won't execute on. You know what I mean? I mean, it's just they won't do it. I see it happening, and it's it's interesting. There's a reason why it says on the back of my book, 87% of the people that get real estate license fail in the first year. By year five, it's up to 90%. And out of those 10% that are left by year five, like probably 7 or 8% do actual business. So think about that. If you what business is that unsuccessful? Like what I mean, or the sign up rate or the fallout rate. So like why wouldn't you say if you know a business is that hard to get into and that hard to stay in, why wouldn't you have a game plan and want the upper hand in it, So I mean, what's everybody say? What's the first thing they do when they go to Zillow? They put in their zip code. That's the
Yep.
literally one people thing. And then they put price range. But the first thing, so imagine if on your Zillow account it says Steve Mr. Brentwood Smith rather than Steve Smith. Well, who the fuck are they going to? Oh, Mr. Brentwood. And yeah, the fucking realtor's going to
I'm
hate
going
it.
to the pro. I'm going to the man who has the authority in this area. Yeah. Or
You know,
woman.
oh, yeah, woman, yeah, it's Mr. or Ms. I mean, the name is a masculine company, but you can be Mr. or Ms. Whatever you want. But yeah, like who? I mean, it's a no-brainer. I've just lived it. I know how it works. I see it. It's, I see it. I know how it works, and I know what brands I like. When I see something, I'm like, oh, instantly, that's a great brand. I know they are confident in what they do too, because you wouldn't have the balls to call yourself that if you weren't good at it or weren't confident enough and to do that, to grow that. So
Guys,
it's a
he's the real deal. He's such a likable person. I'm telling you, I started to like him even more. We were down in South Carolina at this really fancy dinner. All right, this is and I don't know if you've ever been to an extremely fancy dinner out there, but if you have been, they are never as good as you think they are going to be, right? So Charlie and I go to this really fancy dinner. It's an amazing experience, more for the networking than the food. And
place.
so I like going to them, but it's more for the networking. So we go to this place. The food is all right, it's okay, but I don't really care about the food. I care about the people there. And they don't serve that much food at these really nice places ever. There really isn't that much nice or a lot of large amount of food. And I eat a huge dinner. And I think right afterwards, Charlie and I were both saying, man, right after dinner, I'm going to go get to another place to have dinner, real dinner, right? So I remember thinking, he's so far ahead of the game. He's thinking exactly how I'm thinking.
Oh, the
And
whole and that back bar was still open, so we went and had pizza and wings back at the back.
yeah, you had pizza. I was like, damn, that's such a good idea. Right? This is a very expensive dinner. I'm going to go have pizza after this. That's the real dinner.
You'd
Yeah.
be busy sleeping, running across that bridge the next day, which you were better off than me. But that's all good, man. So you're
That such a we share the same thoughts when we were going through it. Like, all right, I need to eat my real dinner. But that's when I was like, he's a good guy. That's awesome. We talked for hours at that dinner. But anyways, guys, pick up the book, A Tale of Two Realtors: How to Reverse Engineer a Thriving Hyperlocal Real Estate Career. If you look at this is only part one. Part two's coming out. Part three potentially. Get ready. If you want to get in touch with him, the website is A Tale of Two Realtors. By the time this comes out, the website should be live and ready to go. And if you are looking to get in touch with him, it'll just be book a call. But once again, he recommends read the book because that is going to give you the insight, the game plan. And then when you're ready, you pull the trigger, jump on a call with him, and then you're off to the races.
I just want to say one more thing. I actually thought after writing the two books, and I was like, man, you know what? It is about real estate, but honestly, any business, anybody who wants to learn about branding can learn it. And it's just a good story about me. I guess I'm a little biased, but I almost thought by the end of this, like truly the takeaway was like, it could have been called The Favor of Focus and the Power of Purpose, as well as A Tale of Two Realtors. You know what I mean? For a bigger audience, because that's truly the takeaway from almost every chapter: the favor of focus and the power of purpose. And if you walk with those two things in your life, and I mean, you can't lose. So
It's awesome. Yeah. So basically, it's just the principles remain the
yeah,
same. Anybody who's an entrepreneur, this is great for realtors, but anybody who's an entrepreneur will get value out of this, is what you're saying.
without a doubt, I think so. I hope so.
He's easy to find, Charlie O'Rourke, but Mr. Middletown. You can type in Mr. Zip It, Mr. Zip Code. He's Google friendly, right? So, is there one social media channel that you're quite active on that you would recommend people reach out to you on?
Currently, just because everything else is being built out, Mr. Middletown, right there, that guy, it's my hyper local brand. So Mr. Middletown on Facebook, Mr. Middletown on Instagram, everything else. So, eventually there'll be Mr. Zip Code for everything else. But yeah, right now, Mr. Middletown's the best place to get me. And it's, if you want to know me, that's where you'll see me. That's the most authentic place to check me out.
Easy to find, bestseller on Amazon, podcast going to be featured here very soon on Spotify and iTunes and whatnot. So look for him. But Charlie O'Rourke, it's a pleasure to work with you. Obviously, we're closely connected. We're going to be working closely for a while. So, guys, get in touch with him, and I can vouch for him. He knows his stuff, and he's committed as all hell for helping you grow your brand. So, any last words, Charlie?
No, man, thanks for having me. Thanks for all the help. I definitely couldn't have got through this without you guys. Your process was amazing. Yeah, it was just really awesome experience, and I'm just so happy I did it. It's the hardest thing I've ever done, and if you told me how hard it would have been from the beginning, I never would have done it. But I'm fucking glad I did.
Yeah, man, it's going to be an asset for life. That's when you write a book, it's like, I got this legacy piece for all time. So
No,
and
I don't have children. Hopefully, I will someday. But like, I was like, once I got done with the book, I was like, I actually have like, I've now got something to leave to the world. Like, like 10 years from now or 50 years from now, I don't know, somebody might be a realtor looking up for books, and there's only a few books named realtor with realtor in the title. Honestly, there's not that many. So yeah, I mean, it's a legacy for forever now. So
damn right.
it's in a tombstone, baby.
Yeah. Oh, we know that on your tombstone you're gonna have one of these phrases for sure. Um, so guys, pick up his book or books. By the time you listen to this, he'll have multiple on Amazon, sure, I'm sure,
And a
and
workbook too with it. So
a workbook. But the audiobook will be coming out. So if you want to put it in your car, turn it into a YouTube University in your car, it'll be on all the channels too, Spotify, iTunes, and also Audible. So get ready for that. We're working on his audiobook, and this guy knows his stuff. So get in touch with him and go take the dogs out for a walk. I'm sure they're bugging you right now. So you don't want to leave them high and dry on a nice Friday. It's beautiful weather here in Pittsburgh. I'm sure it is where you're at. So go and enjoy yourself. Guys, remember, $1 million book will lead to $1 million life right on.